Hello there YouTube, we are back with another deck profile for you guys today. This one has been asked for by a couple of you folks who've been watching our match commentary videos, as well as some of you who tuned in to our first live stream, which was the fight night that we had last week. And today's profile is going to be about Xros Heart. Xros is a deck that, is true and dear to my heart. It's probably one of the most favorite decks I've ever played in the game, if not the favorite deck I've had of all time. Super fun. We sadly haven't had a lot of support since it first came out, but I'm definitely excited for what we're going to see come BT19, and I believe EX-08 as well, where we'll be getting some more Xros Heart support. Should be a very fun time. I'm definitely looking forward to probably running this for Nats, depending on the timing of things. So the deck that I have right now is sort of an in-between. We still have some pieces that we've gotten in recent sets that I think keep the deck alive to some degree and keep the dream going. How far that dream goes is to be seen, but at least I'm having fun with it, right? So before we hop into the profile itself, a couple of things. If you like our content and you like what you see, please do consider hitting that like and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. And, feel free to check out our socials, which will be linked down in the video description below. Without further ado, let's hop right into the profile itself. So for the eggs, we're just going to run the standard 4 Pickmons from BT10. Giving yourself ability to draw and cycle through your deck when swinging is, super nice. Most of the time, I say most of the time because we did add in a new rookie from BT16, but most of the time you'll have Xros Heart and trait, so you'll be able to proc the draw 1 inheritable, and just lets you find your pieces a lot faster. Next, we're going to be running 4 of the Starmons from BT10. Once again, just one of the core pieces that you'll see, a very classic play that you'll do is just Evo in the back with Starmons, promote, swing your chip, save under a Tamer, and then use it for its inheritable later. Again, the ability to draw 1 when you do your Digi-Cross plays just helps you find your pieces and ups your consistency, so definitely no reason to run it less than a 4 of. Then you run 4 of the BT10 Shoutmon, which honestly is probably the best rookie of the deck itself. Being able to hard play him, sometimes when you're in a pinch, search your top 3, pick up a Tamer, and a Digi-Cross piece is super helpful. And the inheritable is really what gives the deck its gas. Giving your Digi-Cross pieces rush is really what gives this deck the tempo, right? Being able to go into a cross 4 for 1, swing, do your checks, restand a Tamer, and possibly do some more things was what made this deck broken in the first place, and what eventually caused X4 to be limited is, again, the rush. The rush is really what you want to see in this deck. It's a low to the ground, get security out of the way sort of deck, right? I like to describe Xros right now, at least, as sort of like dollar store Nume, right? You're still utilizing your low-end pieces with the end goal of just rushing them down. Next rookie we're going to run is 4 of the BT10 Sparrowmon. Again, a really nice rookie to Evo into and just go ahead and swing. Most of the time, it's going to be swinging at 5k, and this is an all turns buff too, right? This is not like it's 5k when attacking. It's a 5k, like a perma 5k, as long as you can meet the condition. So sometimes it's just a sticky low end that'll be able to swing for multiple checks depending on the opponent's board state. So I think Sparrow is really good. A key component for some of your Digi-Cross pieces as well. So I think you have to run it at a 4 of. As you notice, I maximize my rookie count. I'm not cutting down on any rookies just because I want to see them. Not only for like the low to the ground chip, but more so for consistency with my Digi-Cross, right? Being efficient with your Digi-Cross plays is super important. And speaking of efficiency, we do have 2 of the BT16 Ukkomon. The Ukko package, I think, has been a much debated topic amongst Xros Heart players. Mainly because Ukko obviously gives a lot of decks gas, right? BT16 Ukko, promo Ukko do a lot, as we see with Nume, in terms of just low, quick aggression and being able to just churn out bodies. The problem that I see with Ukko is that the more Ukkos you put in, the less consistent your cross becomes. And the cross component of this deck is really like the core. Cross as an archetype relies on having like in archetype synergy, so to speak. And I think too much Ukko takes away from that, and you end up just making yourself brick a whole lot. I do like BT16 Ukko over the promo Ukko mainly because of the cycle. Being able to promote, hatch in the back, potentially set up another rookie, but then cycle through pieces and find your Tamers, find your Digicross pieces, I think takes precedent over that one memory. Cross as a deck is super efficient, so I don't really see the need for extra memory. I mean, I'll take it when I want it, or if I can get it, but I do think Ukko from BT16 with that additional cycle just helps you out a whole lot more, which is why I did slot it in at 2. I think any more, like I said, you start to take away from your cross pieces and decrease consistency. Moving on to the level 4s, which are pretty standard. We do have 4 Ballistamon from BT10. Again, this along with the other level 4 and 4 Dorulumon are just standard for almost any cross deck. Like, I don't think there's a reason to run any of these less than 4 because they're cheap level 4s to play out. They're at the core of all of your Digicross pieces, and a lot of times, you know, Ballista being a blocker can pop up a couple of times, and Dorulu being able to neg 3k DP on something is also somewhat viable in this format in particular, right? So I definitely think just, again, core piece, no reason not to run these at a 4 of. Then we're going to round out our level 4s with the last 2, which is 1 being X3. We've got this guy from BT11, really great in terms of, again, low to the ground aggression, being able to Digicross for technically almost 1, right? If you have all your pieces, swing, cycle through your deck, pick up 2 pieces. It has everything you want in a Xros Heart deck in this card, right? Low play cost. If you Digicross with all the sources, you get to cycle through 3 cards, pick up 2 pieces. You have Rush. And some people utilize the start of your turn effect. You can delete it to gain a memory. Personally, I've never seen that come up. There have been maybe like a few situations during the like entirety of my lifespan playing this deck that I've had to use that start of turn effect. But most of the time, it's either just like a quick play to get a chip in, cycle through cards, and go from there, right? And then the last level 4, the man himself, X4. Limited to 1, so we only run it at a 1 of. I think, obviously, if it's unlimited, you run it at a straight 4. There's really no reason not to. Again, a debatable topic amongst the community is whether this guy can come off the restriction list. I, obviously, am a bit biased. Think he can. I do see the argument that if you do unrestrict him, cross becomes just way too fast. But my feeling is that, you know, with the meta nowadays and with how many ace cards that we have, he's a lot more vulnerable. You know, ace cards really hurt X4, I think, because if it dies, you don't get the end of attack, you know, effect, which makes it really, really busted. It has to survive the attack. So I do think that, you know, it is a bit more power crept out of its brokenness per se. It definitely is still a really good card, don't get me wrong. Like, it's still really, really busted and still can do a lot of crazy things. But I think there's just a lot of ways for the game to work around it now. You know, not just DP reduction or deletion. I mean, Source Strip too, right? Pseudo Ace completely takes X4 sort of out of the picture. You get to restand a Tamer, but you lose your cross pieces, you know? And we see a lot of Pseudo Ace running around. We see a lot of Valk Ace running around. You know, Andromon Ace as well, neg 6k, which could in theory almost kill this guy because it doesn't have jamming, you know? So I think there's a lot of ways to get around this end of attack effect, but let us know what you think in the comment section down below. You know, I think it's definitely an interesting debate and definitely can go both ways. Moving on to the level 5s, we do run 2 of the BT11 OmniShout. The inheritable is really nice. You know, if it has a Shoutmon in name, it gains security attack +1, so can really make an X7 play all the more better with deletion and multiple security checks. There have been instances where if I'm in a pinch or I need to get rid of some bodies, I will hard evo OmniShout on top of a Shoutmon, or hard evo on top of like an X3, for example, right? It's not the most ideal situation, but I have done it and it has played out for me. Another reason to hard evo into OmniShout is the Valk Ace that we have slotted into this deck, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. Because sometimes if you need to just hard evo into OmniShout and just threaten an ace play, sometimes that can be good, right? It does have a save, so on deletion you get to save the OmniShout as a source, But if you did Evo on top of something, then you don't get to save anything below it, unfortunately. But I do think sometimes there's definitely merit in just hard Evoing the OmniShout on top of like a Shoutmon and whatnot. And then for the last level 5, we're going to be running 4 of the BT10 Shoutmon X5. A lot of folks have really fallen out of favor with X5, and I see why. You know, it is a big guy. A 10k multiple checks can be nice, but with how many blockers we have nowadays in the meta, as well as how many like redirections that we have, X5 has definitely fallen out of favor. I do like that it is a blocker, and I do like that you can potentially go into him for free if you have all your cross pieces, which is really, really nice. And like I said before, if you have the Valkyries play, you can just threaten Valkyries. The whole point of my build right now, in essence, revolves around X5, because what I'm hoping to do is, you know, get my low end aggression as Xros Heart likes to do, but then also use X5 as an aggression play to say, all right, I can go into it for 2 or for free, swing my multiple checks, it'll have reboot, it has blocker, so if they don't have a way to get through the blocker, they can't do much, but then I'm able to potentially threaten the Valkyries play, right? And that's really the whole point, is to get my low end aggression, then use the Valkyries to really give myself another turn, right? And then hopefully by that time I'm able to go for game and go for lethal. That's why I'm running 4 X5s, and that's really where a lot of my aggression lies in. Again, it's a rush deck. I kind of went full end on the rush component, and I've cut down a lot on my X7 pieces. I'm not running any Z Greymon, which a lot of you may be like, Ben, what the heck? What are you doing? I know, debatable, but the whole point of what I'm trying to make is just, look, I gotta go fast. The meta is a lot faster now, and I think Cross, ironically, has to play catch up, you know, and I think X5 is a very quick way to do that. As I said before, we do run the Valkyries, and we do run it at a 3 of. It is such a good card. You know, we've seen the damage that it can do with Numemon, where you just threaten that level 5 on board that can go into Valkyries, and it sometimes will just take care of an opponent's board state. Really, really good against Nume itself, right? Being able to just give yourself a blanket, your opponent a blanket minus 5k DP. Anything that they play out, you just end up popping it anyway. And being able to potentially pop a big body, right? If they swing, you Valk Ace, you minus 8k on a big body, and then you minus 5k the board. Most of the times will deal with a lot of what's out there. And then also really good against Magna X, right? You know, DP reduction lingers despite the option immunity. So DP reduction will blanket effect onto Magna X, and once the effects die off, well then Valkyrie sometimes can deal with it, which is why Nume has done very, very well against Magna X, as well as just how quickly it can wideboard, right? So I definitely think Valkyrie is a huge card, and definitely wanted to try to slot it in and use him. We do run 1 of the X7. I'm using X7 almost as like an option card at this point. Why it was so good before was that it was a cheap play, it was a good source of removal, and it did a lot of things for the deck. Nowadays, I feel like it doesn't do as much as you would want it to. Again, it's great for removal. It's a base 13k, and every 2 sources you slot in, you added 1k to its DP, so you could potentially pop like 14k, 15k with this guy. But at the same time, I just feel like after you do that, it doesn't do as much as you want it to do anymore. So I'm only running it as a 1 of, as like a quick removal piece. If it sticks on the board and can swing for multiple checks, great. But honestly, for me, it's like a pseudo option card. We do run 1 Death X just because Death X is good. Wideboarding is a thing in this meta, and nowadays, most of the time, Death X can be a free play. De-digivolves a board, pops any level 4, so I think just really, really good for, again, just keeping yourself alive, buying yourself another turn. Moving on to the Tamers, we run 4 of the main man himself in BT10 Taiki. He's the Tamer you want to see 10 out of 10. Most of the times, if I'm mulliganing, it's because I don't see a Tamer. I'm not picky with my Tamers, but if I can see BT10 Taiki right off the bat, for sure 100% I'm keeping that hand because it allows you to search. It is allowing you also to digicross with your tamer pieces, because the other tamers will allow you to save, but they don't allow you to digicross with sources under their stack. So Taiki is the one that really allows you to pop off. So you just run a metaphor of. We do run 3 Zenjiro for the memory gain, and being able to cheat out a Ballista is super nice. Shout out to TJ. I know you hate Zenjiro. The last security check hitting a Zenjiro to play out a Ballista has been like a regular thing between he and I. So I love you, buddy. I'm sorry, but Zen's just really good. You know, being able to play out a cheap blocker, give yourself memory efficiency in a deck that's already super efficient is super clutch. And then we round out our sort of core cross tamer pieces with Akari. Just run it at a 2 of. I feel like I prefer Zenjiro for the memory and the efficiency. You have enough draw power with your inheritables, your Ukkomon, your Shoutmon, where I think, you know, Akari's ability to draw you a card is not as important anymore. And also, too, you want to be sort of careful with how much you're adding to hand, particularly with like Mirage running around, right? So I think Akari still being able to play out a Dorulu is nice. You do want to include her, but I think 2 is just enough for me. And then we do have Taiki, Kiriha, Nene as the triple tamer. Some people love it, some people don't. I still like it. If I could run it at like a 2 of, I think I would, but deck space is a little bit tight. If anything, I might like cut back on like 1 Starmons per se and maybe slot in 1 more triple tamer, because the ability to sort of act as a pseudo Taiki is really nice, right? Because of all the 3 tamers that we talked about, like I said, Taiki is only the one that allows you to digicross from sources. This gives you an additional target to allow you to do that. And also the start a main phase to slip a source underneath, draw a card, gain a memory is also really nice for consistency and efficiency as well. So I do think there is merit to running it. The one drawback that a lot of people harp on is that it's a 4 cost. So if you are playing it, it's likely gonna pass your turn. So it's a great tamer to play like turn 1 or turn 2, but afterwards, there really isn't a good time to play it. It almost feels like a dead turn if you end up just playing this from hand, particularly in like the late to mid game. Like sometimes it's just sitting in my hand and like there's never really a good time to play it. So I can see why people end up just cutting it out completely. I still wanted to keep it as a 1 of, because if I'm not seeing Taiki, this is still a good option to just play out so that you can digicross. And then we're going to round out our tamers with 2 of the promo Louis. Again, with how reliant you are on like low ground aggression, I think Louis is still really nice to be able to push up a rookie, gain a memory, and, you know, kind of expedite your chips that way. This paired with Ukkomon, as everybody knows, is absolutely nasty. And why Nume is doing so well. I think 2 is sufficient enough. I don't think I would run any more, just because once again, it's like, it doesn't really do much other than just push out the rookie. I think 2 is good enough. And yeah, I left it at that. And then we round out the deck with 1 option card, and that's Lonkhe Adistakto from BT10. I think one of the best removal options in the game outside of like Chaos Degrade. You can't run Chaos, obviously, on Cross, so I think Lonkhe is your best bet. Some people might consider running, like, Crimson to go up against Nume, or things like Heaven's Judgment, right? Heaven's, for me, is, like, sort of eh. You know, I think it's really good in Magna X because you have the, like, potential to have, like, 3 colors and do 24k. With Cross, depending on what you have on board, sometimes you really can only do, like, 1 color or 2 colors, which makes the card, like, eh for me. I think Lonkhe is much better in terms of it's just, you know, minus 12k, and if you're less than 3, you can just slot them into security, right? So I think, again, one of the best, if not the best removal option in the game. And yeah, you definitely want to run at least 1 option card in Cross. Ideally, you run 2, but, you know, the deck space is tight with how I'm running it, so I only have space for 1, and I think it does the job well enough. And that rounds out the deck, guys, you know, so let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Like I said, Cross is still a far ways off from being competitive in today's meta, but We keep the dream alive. We keep going. We keep doing what we can, and we wait for BT19. But like I said, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys are rocking. If you guys are Xros Heart fans, I know we have a few of you guys who, regularly tune in, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Hopefully we catch you guys on the next video. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see ya on that flip. Bye-bye.